What's up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. I got my guest with me, Mark.
How you doing, everyone?
So today we're going to be discussing a little bit about Mark today. We were pretty much just talking at work, and he was just explaining to me like how he had like this radio career, and I thought it was like just real interesting of all the things that he did and all the stories that he have. So I just asked him to come on the channel to share a few stories to get a view of how his profession went. So what year did you start doing radio?
Well, actually, I started doing radio in 2000. I was working for this company called Behind the Scenes Entertainment Inc. with Tony Johnson, Mickey Turntable. So it's an interesting story how I got that job. I was dealing with the Commission for the Blind. And my counselor, I told him that I wanted to get a different career. So they said, well, what would you like to do? I said, I want to work in the music industry. And she laughed, right? And I said, no, really? And she said, well, you can try going to the unemployment office and see if they got a job opening, right? So I did it. I went down to the unemployment office and, they had someone there to help me to go through the microfiche, right? And the lady said, well, what are you looking for? I said, I want to be in the music industry. And she was like, okay. So lo and behold, there was an opening for an engineer, an audio engineer for Behind the Scenes.
Right.
So long story short, I called Tony Johnson, and I went for the interview, and they hired me on the spot. Awesome, So,
wow.
and I've been, I worked with them since 2000, and now the company is kind of spread out now, so I do some commercials for them every now and then. Yeah.
So that's dope. How was the experience just working there, like just the environment, or like all the interviews you did?
Oh, it was cool, man. It was just cool. I mean, every day I would come in the office and stuff, I have my area, and it would be like, hey, Mark, Whitney Houston is on too. I'd be like, yeah, right.
And
then we had our office was sweet, man. Our building was on Franklin Street downtown, and I had my studio. They had it set up with gold records. Like I had Janet Jackson Control album on the wall. Because if we helped out with their career, we would actually get a copy of a gold record.
And then they put the plaque on the record on the wall, right?
Yeah. So, so once, I got into doing all of that, I would start doing interviews with celebrities. But my main purpose there was to create our show, and it was a gospel radio show called Behind the Scenes Gospel. And that started out to be an hour show. And as time went on, we ended up getting syndicated. Because the way it was unique at that time. Because I would create the show on with computers, and I would take it and make it into a CD, and we would send it to the different radio stations, and they would play it, when the regular disc jockeys were on break and stuff like that. So it turned out, it kept moving, and then it turned into a 4-hour show.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So did you have to make any adjustments when you went to the 4-hour show?
Yeah.
How was that? Like,
that wasn't easy. That wasn't easy at all, because back when I was doing it, it took like a week to do an hour show, because it had components like we would have, naturally we would have like playing gospel music, contemporary gospel, the hip hop kind of gospel, Fred Hammond, Hezekiah Walker, all of those, powerful stuff, right?
Yeah.
And we would have that going, and then we would also have like segments where we talk about health, healthy living, stuff like that. And then we'll have like commercials, selling different artists, albums and stuff like that. It was cool.
That's dope. So what was your first interview that you did at the radio station?
The first one.
Do you remember?
I have to say, it was Mary J. Blige. It was Mary J.
So,
Blige.
tell us about that story.
That was interesting, right? Because the way we did it, we had two processes. We would do, we would have the artists come in to the actual studio, or we would do it over the phone. and then we have it linked into the mixing boards and stuff. You know, so that was, you know, we did Mary, you know, and she was being Mary. You know, it was exciting.
Yeah.
But I will tell one story when we did Dionne Warwick, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was really something, right? Because she did it over the phone, and she was in Greece, and she was like, you know, on the beach. She was like, oh, I'm on the beach, you know, and all that. She said, oh, Mr. Three, Mark, I like your voice. You got a real nice voice. I was like, thank you. So I'm all excited. You know, Dionne Warwick. Yeah. So she's telling me her life story and stuff, you know, about her musical career and all of this, and we're getting along great. So during the process, I looked down at the mixing board, and I forgot to turn it on. Oh, man, that was a trip. It was like ship going down, going down, right?
So he's like, oh man.
So I said, Mr. Warwick, could you hold on for a second, right? So I run upstairs to my boss. I said, you know, I got Dionne on the thing and stuff, but I got too excited and hit the button. I said, you know, what should I do? He said, well, you got to tell her. So I'm like, okay. So I sucked it up, ran back in the studio. I said, Dionne, I'm so sorry, but we got so into it, I forgot to hit the button. And she was like, oh, baby. And she said, well, do you remember? I said, you know, I'm really sorry. She said, well, I like you. So we're going to go through this real fast and done it. And it turned out great. It ended up on the radio and also in the magazine, Behind the Scenes magazine. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it was like, so it turned into like a rapid fire interview after.
Yeah,
so boom,
right.
Boom, boom, get to the main focus points.
That was interesting.
I would have felt like, you know, kind of like, you know, the same, like I got this Dionne on the phone and I messed up, so it's like, oh man.
I got hot.
Did the same thing.
I got real hot real quick, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you know, you gotta work. You gotta work at it. You know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, like, what was another like interview that stood out to you?
Well, we did. Well, one great one was when I did Fred Hammond. Mm-hmm. You know, and I'm a tremendous fan of Fred Hammond's music. You know, he's a contemporary gospel artist, and you know, and he spends time in Buffalo, New York. And one of my friends were playing in a group with him too. So it was sort of like, you know, it was real comfortable. You know, he was like, oh yeah, yeah, man, we gonna stop by GG's. That's what GG's was. We was just kicking it, you know. Yeah, it was real interesting, man. Yeah, he's a good dude. Fred is good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever get to meet like any other celebrities in person?
Yeah. Well, working with Behind the Scenes, one of my job duties was to when artists submit their CDs, because we also had a publishing company in there, mm-hmm. And you know, my boss, you know, he had a lot of stuff to do. Tony Johnson. And so he would give me the privilege to go through different artists, you know, CDs and stuff like that. Yeah. So I happened to run into one CD from this group called Dungeon Family. And I was like, hey, let me, you know, the cover was tight, you know, everything looked nice. So I put it on and I was digging it, right? Mm-hmm. So I brought it to my boss and he was digging it. You know, it was real nice. And we had something to do with bringing Outkast.
Yeah, because that was their, you said their first.
Yeah, their first CD. Mm-hmm. So actually, I would say later on in that year, they did a concert at UB, and I had a chance to hang out with those guys. You know,
that's dope.
Yeah, it was funny, man, because they had their tour bus was like in the back of the stadium, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm back there talking to them, right? And I'm noticing it's smelling real good, right? Yeah. So was Andre 2000? I think is it
3000.
3000, yeah. He says, oh man, we got a grill back there. So they had a barbecue grill going in the back of the church, you know, window open, all that stuff. Them dudes was real down to earth. I loved it, man. It was great.
Like anytime I see, you know, Andre, especially Andre 3000, doing their interview, he always, you know, just been this humble guy, mm-hmm. real respectable.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a funny story. I was in Atlanta, going to like the Coca-Cola factory.
Mhm.
So the person that I was with held the phone up to her and pointed at the he had a picture of Andre 1000.
Yeah.
Pointed at the picture and pointed at me. And she
What?
was like, yeah, he gets that up. He gets that
Awesome,
a lot.
man. That's awesome.
I'm like, But yeah, I thought, yeah, very, very cool person.
Right, yeah.
So when you, this whole time, like, cause you mentioned, going through the Commission for the Blind.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you end up getting in contact with them, or how did you lose your vision?
Well, I was born legally blind, and I had hard time in school, when they say you couldn't see the board, so the doctors, checked my eyes out and they said I was born legally blind, So when I was in high school, that's when I started having difficulty. And they introduced me to the commission. So I've been working, they've been helping me since I was like 15. So I'm like, been with them for years and years and years.
Right.
And it worked out real nice because, one of the things that they would do is if you found a position or a job that you wanted to get, they would pay your salary for your training to be able to do this job. And then they would also help you out with any adaptive equipment that you would, need to perform your duties. Mm-hmm. So that was like Christmas. Yeah.
And so you mentioned, you said when you were 15, you got connected with them. Mm-hmm. Now, has your vision stayed the same over time, or did it, deteriorate a little bit?
It definitely will deteriorate. It's slow, medicine is catching up with me though. So it's slow, it's gradual, Yeah. But I'm able to adapt, to my situation and my surroundings. Mm-hmm. And then also with the commission, they would, give all kinds of equipment. They have stuff now that when I first started, nobody even thought about having, Yeah. So it works out,
Yes, same here. I remember when I first started, noticing that I was losing my vision. My mom got us connected with the Commission for the Blind, and like you said, just the amount of services that you get. I got glasses, the telescope, the laptop, the it's a whole bunch of stuff. Like, they ask you what are your interests and what do you like doing, and they provide you with those things. Like they want to help you succeed.
Right. Yeah.
And I tell people like all the time, like, even though I lost my vision completely, I still have a life to live.
Right.
We still have a life to live. So you gotta do things that you want, unless you will fall into this depression and you would stay there. Like you have to get up and try something new, do things differently. Like I lost my vision when I was 19. I lost it completely when I was 19. I was diagnosed with glaucoma when I was 12. So over the time, it's like, what can I do to better myself?
Right.
Financially and spiritually.
Right.
Because you want to go through and be able to be a vessel or like a teacher for other people that's that experiencing the same thing, like with children, that come to our job and do like the little WET program and just talk to them like, hey, I've been there before. Because when I started losing my vision, I wasn't very receptive. I was like, oh man, I don't want to be here. And I figured, okay, if I don't get the training, it's like more of like a defense mechanism. If I didn't learn how to use my cane, if I didn't learn how to use these tools or read Braille, it was like, okay, then I ain't got to deal with it, because if I ignore it, it'll go away. And then, as you know, it'll go away.
It ain't gonna go away, bro. But that's called adapting, you know what I mean? Yeah. You could always, my family is real close, right? And I come from a musical family. I played instruments since I was a little kid, I played drums. My favorite is bass. I play bass like crazy, and guitar, piano, and I teach also. And one of the things my father and a lot of my mentors told me, said, no matter what, you can do whatever you want. There's a way to get it done. All you have to do is have the wherewithal and the will to do it. And then the rest is cake.
No doubt.
Yeah.
So what are your favorite instruments? I mean, you said that you like to play some, so what?
Right. Well, I started, let's say, it's funny, right? Because when I was 10, my dad had bought me for Christmas a guitar and a realistic reel-to-reel. This little toy-like thing. It's like a reel-to-reel recorder.
Okay, so, that's way probably.
Yeah, when I was like 10 years old, right? Yeah. You had to roll the things, you know, it was real tape and all that, right? So my father was like, every time you play something, tape it. Even if you don't like it, somebody else might like it, right? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of got me started, you know? And so I went from playing guitar, I started with guitar when I was like really little, you know, I want to say like little, you know, like 8 or 9 or something. And then I went from there to trombone, then I went from trombone to drums, and then from drums to piano, and then bass guitar, and then lead guitar. But my forte is bass guitar.
Bass guitar.
You might tell from the bass and the legs. Yeah, I love bass, man.
And some of the instruments that you mentioned, I actually like too. You know, the guitars, especially like the electric guitar,
flute, awesome,
violin.
right.
Those are, you know, the drums. I think are dope instruments. And I definitely believe I love music.
Right.
And I can listen to pretty much anything. If it sounds good to my ears, I'm gonna listen to it. It don't matter what genre it is.
Right.
So when you play, have you ever played like in a band or?
Yeah, I played. Well, when I was a little kid, I used to play with this artist. He became famous. This guy named Little Lucky Peterson. He was like a prodigy. So he was like 3 years old playing like a 50-year-old man. This dude was amazing, right? Yeah. So, you know, I played with him pretty much until he went to England. He passed away, you know, may he rest in peace. He passed away like 3 years ago. You know, and I did that when I started, but you know, I did the high school, the grammar school bands, and then, you know, I got to a certain point where my music teacher was like, you know, I can't teach you anything else. You need to get out there. So then when I started becoming what we call a street musician. I would go around to bars and clubs. I could barely get in them, you know? And yeah, because I was young, and I would be like, you know, I could play this, I could play that, you know? So I would join like a lot of groups. I ended up playing, like, one of my favorites is playing with Rick James and Stone City Band. Super cool, man. You know, I hanged out with them. Then I started my own groups. I had like a group called Positive Force where we did Caribbean reggae music. Then I also played with Alfred St. John, Steel Drum, Extravaganza. You know, we're still doing that, you know, but COVID kind of slowed everything down.
Definitely.
You know, and I've also done things with Spiral Gyra. Just, you know, I'm a studio musician. You know, so I've learned music. I know how to, you know, read and write music. It was a challenge, but I call myself, you know, sort of like a hired gun. You know, I play with everybody, long as the check is there. You know?
We're gonna learn to play the game.
Oh yeah. Just tell me what the set is. I'll be there. You know?
So what's some of like your favorite genres to play? Like, cause to me, like just talking to you, you give me like I said like a funk type blues.
Oh yeah, the funk is on, you know.
Yeah.
But you know it's funny, right? Cause I like you saying, I like all types of music. But when, you know, what I really enjoy is I like jazz fusion. You know, it's difficult to play, and it's sort of like a lesson each song. But once you do it, it's like you get this overwhelming feeling of power, man, because it's like so much that goes on in jazz fusion. You know, and then I'm, you know, like a lot of my friends, you know, I'm a rock and roll. You know, I'm a rock star. That's what I say. I love playing rock music. Rock is my thing. You know, I like the energy, you know, the flow. Then also, you know, I've done a lot of things with hip hop. Like one of my friends, he's blind. He became famous. A guy named Prince Chill, and I work with him still to today. You know, and you know, blues. I was on tour for like maybe 3 years, opening up for B.B. King before he passed away. You know, reggae, soca music. You know, just so much. And then of course, being from Buffalo, the funk, the one, the mighty one. Got to put it down, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's some great stuff.
Speaking of funk in Buffalo, I think like a lot of people, like older people. I know my cousin had like a lot of memories or stories of Rick James, and a lot of people that involved in music definitely did some work with him at a point in time.
Right,
you got any Rick James stories?
Yeah.
Good or bad? Like, we talk about the good times.
Well, Rick is Rick. Rick had a certain kind of energy,
Yeah.
But I remember one time I was at this place called the Familiar Room, and it was over there on Main near East Ferry Street. Yeah, and they used to say that's where you go up to get down. So Rick used to be there all the time, right? And one day I happened to be there with my girlfriend at this time, and we were sitting there, and Rick comes in, and I'm like, hey, Rick, and he really didn't pay much attention to me. He was looking at my girlfriend, right? And I'm looking at him like he had on this leopard skin suit. So I'm like, Rick is being Rick, right? So the evening went, and he was really kind of interested in my friend,
Yeah.
So he was like, you know what, Mark, maybe I could hook you up with a tour or something, introduce me to your friend. So my friend was like, I don't want to know him. So push come to shove, we ended up leaving, but Rick is Rick.
He
Rick.
definitely, I think, like just from the people that I spoke to that know or met him or they work with him, always had like this some wild, crazy story. He's just a different, unique type of
But Rick is a good dude, man. I mean, the first time when I met Rick James, we had this place on Norfolk Street called the Boys and Girls Club. And that's just before his album, his first single, You and I, came out. And I was standing in front of, the building, and he was walking back and forth, he wasn't really, nobody knew him, right? So, me and him talked, and he was like, I'm gonna play my new single. And I was like, oh, I play music too, And back then, there used to be groups called Sabata, The Cause, Last Time of Days, and all that. So me and him hit it off, right? So we go into it's like a boys club, right? Boys and Girls Club. We go in here. He put the record on. Man, that place lit up like a candle. I mean, right that second, you knew that song was a hit. Wow. I mean, they was dancing like crazy. Rick looked like he was about to start crying. He's a good dude. He really is a good dude. He like, he a rock star. They got the rock star life. But he may he rest in peace. He's a great dude, man. He was a great dude. Yeah.
So, do you have any performances coming up that you plan, or are you just still kind of?
Well, yeah. Right now, I got some projects in the works. I'm really doing things in the studio. While it's kind of like touch and go with this. It's the music business. Music is coming back this summer, but a lot of the type of shows I did, I really wasn't really like doing bars and stuff like that. I usually do like universities, concerts and stuff like that. So that's coming back. But it's like the big names have to come in first to open it up, and then everybody else come in. So right now, everything it's a work in progress, just getting back, Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you coming.
Awesome, brother.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, anytime. I love to have you back. We have a different conversation. We're talking about something new.
Yeah.
Something different,
Can I plug myself?
Sure, go ahead.
My name is Mark 3. I own a recording studio called Music Temple. If anybody needs any music, I write music, I create beats, I record people. You know, I use Pro Tools, Logic. You know, I have a really nice studio, so get in touch with us, you know, and send us inboxes.
Yeah.
And then I can hook you up.
Your Facebook page or like your social media.
Yeah, definitely. Like, well, I'm Mark 3, straight out on Facebook.
All right.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Thanks everybody for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. Have a great day.